to the World Series, Super Bowl 39, and the Daytona 500. This is Fox Sports. For decades, those with extraordinary powers have waged a war for supremacy.
They call her the treasure. Word got around fast. They tried to steal her.
The task is yours. Completed.
Between good and evil stands a warrior.
You may have heard of her. Her name is Elektra.
I'm not a good person to get involved with.
Just begun.
Three-time MVP Brett Favre, Lambeau Field, a passionate rivalry, and the NFL playoffs all wrapped into one. Folks, it does not get any better than this. And on top of all of that, today Brett goes up against one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That would be Daunte Culpepper. This season, Daunte led the NFC in just about every passing category. It is expected to be an offensive shootout as the Vikings take on the Packers in round one of the playoffs. Two great quarterbacks, plenty of offense, and of course, as Ed Gorin, our president, would say, hitting weather. The temperature at Lambeau Field, you ask, a balmy 27 degrees. As we welcome you to Studio A here in Los Angeles, California. Hello, everyone. I'm James Brown, and welcome to the finale of Wildcard Weekend and this Fox NFL special. Hey, we have a special matchup today, and my guys are fired up. Jimmy Johnson, Howie Long, and Terry Bradshaw, otherwise known as the Blonde Bomber. By the way, thanks to the folks from the movie Elektra for their help with the open of the show. Elektra opens January 14th. Jimmy, you're looking pretty svelte today. What happened?
Had a great day yesterday. Watching football. Oh, lots of nachos. Plates and plates and plates of nachos.
I thought he was going to explode. By the way, we have a lady in the studio who named her truck after you, Howie.
Chevrolet.
Kelly. Oh, Chevrolet? All right, we'll go with that one.
Long.
Hey, folks, just a couple of weeks ago, Minnesota and Green Bay went at it in a wild shootout, and Brett Favre's Packers came back in the fourth quarter to win the NFC North. That's why today's playoff game is a legendary one at Lambeau Field, and so are the guys calling all the action. Our legends, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Chris Collinsworth. Hey, fellas.
Hey, JB, and thanks a lot. As you said, it's cold. It's not awful. It could be colder this time of year here in Green Bay, and this great rivalry renews itself. 88th time these two teams will meet. It's the first time to do it in the playoffs. And Chris, we'll start with you. You think about the Green Bay Packers. They're the number 3 seed taking on the Vikings, the number 6 seed. But what do you think the Packers are worried about with Minnesota coming in?
Well, first of all, if this is not awful, I don't want to see awful. It's definitely a little bit cold around here. Yeah, absolutely. But the Packers do come in exactly as they would hope. They've won a couple of games in a row. Brett Favre is hot. The receivers are playing great football. As a matter of fact, the only thing that really concerns Mike Sherman, their head coach right now, is the fact that there's so much turmoil going on with the Minnesota Vikings. He wishes they had won a week ago. He didn't want to see all the controversy with Randy Moss because, Troy, we have seen at times in the past, that's when teams get galvanized and they play their best football.
Yeah, and for the Vikings, you take a look at them, and regardless of how they got into the playoffs, they are in. And for the first time in a long time, there's really no pressure on this football team. Nobody expects them to win this game, and so I would think that they'll play better as a result of that. As Randy Moss, or for Randy Moss, he will start today. There was never any consideration not playing him in this game. Daunte Culpepper said it's the best week of practice that he's had since he's been there. And Mike Tice has said he expects Randy Moss to have his best game. And, Joe, you can understand the reasons why he says that.
Yeah, he's got every reason to hope that that is the case. And, by the way, obviously this is not a turf game. This is not even a game on grass. By the end of this day, this field, if it's not already a mess, is going to be a disaster. The footing will be treacherous. As we get ready for the game, for now, we send it back to the studio. JB, it's all yours.
All right, Joe Buck, that indeed is not a pretty sight looking at that field. Hey, look here. Tale of two teams indeed over the past couple of months. Green Bay is 9-2. Minnesota is 3-7. And, of course, Green Bay has beaten Minnesota twice. Jimmy, any shot by the Vikings today?
Yeah, really, these two teams match up extremely well, but because of Minnesota's extremely fragile confidence, they need to score early. They cannot get behind in this game. Being on the road, they have to score early.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Green Bay did score early, they blow them out. And I also wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota lights it up. They're certainly capable of it, aside from the fact that Chris Collinsworth was wearing those gloves up there, Chris. It ain't that cold, my man.
Hey, that's a wide receiver for you. Go ahead.
So you wouldn't be surprised if they won, but then again, you wouldn't be surprised if they lost.
Or light it up.
Oh, I wasn't sure. I was a little confused. But
It's a fragile mental state.
I understand fragile
I know you do.
I would expect a great game, but I don't think it's going to be any different than yesterday when we saw the Rams go up to Seattle, beat them again, and then we saw the Jets go on the road and beat them again, and I think today it's pretty much a no-brainer. I think Green Bay will beat Minnesota again.
A lot of points scored. A lot of points.
You look very handsome with that goatee, by the way.
I feel kind of cute.
You feel kind of cute today? All right.
Cute guy.
Time now for singular fantasy football. During the regular season, the fans and the Fox team, believe it or not, TB, tied.
That's some bull.
But now the rules have changed.
We're experts.
The guys will pick who they think will be the fantasy
Two of us are in the hall.
player of the game. Jimmy belongs there. They will compete against the fans and each other. Basically, it's every man for himself. Howie, who do you like?
Well, I think the first pick has to go with the quarterback. I'll go with the quarterback who's playing at home.
All right.
A career year, Dante Culpepper.
Good second.
Blonde Bomber.
Thanks a lot, fellas. I'll go with the guy who has more touchdowns receiving against Green Bay than any other team he plays against, and that's Randy Moss. I'm going with Randy Moss.
Your favorite.
You can vote by text messaging the word play to 63504 or by logging on to foxsports.com. You have until 5 p.m. Eastern. Still ahead, a candid conversation. Our Jimmy Johnson and Randy Moss.
The one and only Ford Fox NFL special is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. Get ready for the game. By State Farm, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By the new Singular, raising the bar. And by Ford, an unprecedented 6 new vehicles. Right here, right now. Ford, built for the road ahead.
All right, folks, it is indeed Wild Card weekend, and apparently Frank Caliendo thought that meant it was time to play cards. He tried celebrity poker, but after realizing that he was not a celebrity, Frank tried to make some dinero in a different game.
And now it's Celebrity Solitaire. Up first, it's Robert De Niro.
This is dumb, huh? This is stupid, huh? Do you hear me, huh? I am playing against nobody here, huh? This is ridiculous. This is stupid. I am beating myself just like the Vikings do, huh? Who am I going to pick? I am going to go with Green Bay, huh? Am I saying that Minnesota stinks? A little bit, huh? A little bit. Wild card, huh? The way the Vikings backed into the playoffs, that is more like a mild card, huh? Pretty good joke, huh? Pretty good joke. See this right here? That's 2. That is the number of times that the Vikings have been beaten by the Packers, huh? How about this, huh? 8-8. That is the Vikings record. That's not very good. It's not good at all, huh? And what is this, huh? Right here? 4 queens, right there. 4 queens, huh? Which reminds me, back to you guys.
All right, TB, you normally give a label on this one.
Who was he being? Who was that?
Robert.
Oh, that's
not bad, Frank.
That's cruel.
Not funny, Frank. Not funny. Not funny. Not funny, JB.
Frank Caliendo is indeed, I'm going to say he is funny, but lately no one on the Vikings is in a laughing mood. Up next, we'll cover the big uproar over Randy Moss. As you all know, he left the game before it was over last week against Washington, and some teammates indeed were not too thrilled. Our coach, Jimmy Johnson, confronts Moss, and we'll have the skinny on Minnie. And if Moss is feeling the heat, so is the Packers D. Pam Oliver finds out if the Packers D is good enough to bring a title back to Title Town.
We're still searching a little bit for their identity. You know, we're not a bad group. We're strong. We're stronger in some areas than we are in others. But, you know, once everything gets together, it'll be something to see.
Outstanding day by Peyton Manning, TB.
All right, 4-9. So soft. 49-24, 457 yards, 4 touchdown passes by Manning, second most in the playoffs in the National Football League. And the Colts now will travel to New England, where they lost last year in the championship game.
Yeah,
JB.
we'll show you soft, all right, is what they were saying. All right, folks,
So
as we
soft.
welcome you back indeed. So far this season, this rivalry between the Packers and the Vikings has been all Packers. They won both games against the Vikes by identical scores of 34-31. So, as we welcome you back, let's tell you that those scores certainly underscore the fact that these teams are not known for their defense. As Pam Oliver reports, for Green Bay, it's looking a lot like last year when the Pack's D let them down and they fired their defensive coordinator.
What do you need to happen defensively? What do you need from your guys?
We need to tackle well, which we didn't tackle well the last time we played them in New Mexico.
Tackling.
Yeah.
That's like basic football,
That's
isn't
like
it?
Pop Warner, tackling, learn how to tackle. It's not quite that easy.
Give me that one game, the thing that you can point to and say, now that was a thing of beauty where the Packers defense is concerned.
Week 1 against Carolina. That was great. That was great.
Woo, I had to split a couple games in half and maybe take a quarter from this game, maybe a half of this game.
If you saw the first 4 weeks of our ball games, you saw us very blitz happy, continually pressuring, and we weren't winning ball games, so we had to do some things to change.
Once we had a little bit of bad things happen to us, you can say whether you want to say about did we panic, did we do this or do that. I think that I did.
What do you think?
I think we panicked a little bit.
What happened to Blitz and Bob?
I don't know if I can comment on that. Like, I don't know what happened to it. I'm confident in whatever slow calls, you know what I mean?
We wanted to be an extremely aggressive, blitzing, attacking mode of a defense, and as we got into it with some younger players, it got to a point where some of that stuff wasn't effective.
You can say that again. Torched by their own aggressiveness, the Packers became schematically a fundamentally simple defensive unit and a statistically bad one at that.
With the exception of 3 or 4 plays a game, we can play pretty good, but it seems like those 3 or 4 plays get us in trouble. But I've been pleased with them as of late.
It was one costly postseason-ending play that led Sherman to fire Ed Donatel, now thriving as Atlanta's defensive coordinator, replacing him with Bob Slowick. Speaking of 4th and 26, how is Bob Slowick an upgrade from Ed Donatel?
I think that he brings just a different light to the defense.
To be honest with you, about the same. As far as upgrade,
when you're in this business, you know that there's not a great deal of security in it. It's results oriented. That fear is always right below the surface. All I know is when I step into the room with those defensive players, they're a great group of guys. They work their tails off. The most important thing for us is come off the field with a win.
As always, Pam Oliver listens and fires back with the right question. And Big Boy, as you listen to that, what's your assessment of Green Bay's D?
Well, they've changed, and one of the reasons they changed is they lost McKenzie. McKenzie was out earlier in the year. A defense is still, as you see in the pieces, trying to find out who they are. At the end of the year, Donatel got let go for a bad play, and they weren't aggressive enough. They bring in Slowick. They want him to be more aggressive. Guess what? When you've got one corner, you can't be aggressive. When you keep McKenzie and you've got 2 corners, you can be aggressive. This is a defense that's still trying to find themselves. They're worse now than they were last year.
25th.
And
they
that's
find
too
the
bad.
guy that
Donatel,
was 17th.
he deserves a break.
Okay? And they've got a rookie corner in Carroll at left corner. They're bringing a nickel back who is also a rookie, Thomas. He's in the slot. If you want to be aggressive and blitz, make sure you have the corners that can cover. You cannot, even when you do that, Jimmy, when you go up against the Colts, it doesn't matter. They're too explosive offensively. Now they're playing a soft zone, which are cover 2, 5 short, 2 deep. And you know what? When you don't have the corners, that's the coverage to play because you can protect yourself and slow down the run. So they're not very good defensively, and it's kind of funny, actually.
Neither defense.
Neither one, exactly.
Yeah, Professor Bradshaw. All right, folks, the Packers defense will have to contend with Randy Moss today, who has been on the defensive all week for walking off the field before the game was over. Up next, our coach, Jimmy Johnson, raps with the Mercurial Man of Minnesota. And, folks, Jimmy was not afraid to challenge Moss face-to-face. As a matter of fact, you don't want to miss it.
Do you wish you hadn't walked off?
I don't even think about it because
but you know you were wrong, Randy.
If I was wrong, it's like so many people telling me.
All right, folks, as we welcome you back to the Ford pregame show, there is no doubt that Randy Moss will indeed speak his mind, but so will our colleague Jimmy Johnson, and that should have made for a pretty interesting interview, Jimmy.
And JB, Randy Moss is not a bad person, but all his life he's been allowed to break the rules because of his tremendous talent. And what you see now is the result of those years and years, of Nobody putting their foot down and saying no.
It's 3rd and 24. Culpepper takes a snap. Good time. Deep center of the field. Moss is open. Caught. 30. And the Detroit Lions defense has been left in the wake of a keen turn of speed.
I don't really do a lot of talking. And when I do talk, I speak my mind. And that's the part I think that, you know, people might misinterpret that. You know, I'm speaking the truth, so they might not like the truth.
Some people think you're selfish, though.
I think in order to be a star in any league, you got to have some kind of selfishness about you.
Randy Moss, I think he figures the day is done.
What the heck was that?
Randy being Randy.
What were you thinking when you walked off? I know 2 seconds, one shot in a million, but you did have one shot in a million.
I think that's where the frustration part set in at. For the second year in a row, we've held our own destiny, and we failed at that.
Were you thinking at that time you were out of the playoffs?
At that time, I really didn't really care.
You know, we are a team, and I know he loves, you know, the players on this team. I know he loves to be a part of this team, and some of the things he does. You just have no words for it.
I've talked to a bunch of players, so I know how they feel. You know they're dependent on you.
I mean, it's something I've been dealing with all my life. I mean, they're not the only one that depends on me. I mean, I have family, I have children that depend on me, so I know what I'm doing.
Do you wish you hadn't walked off?
I don't even think about it, because
but you know you were wrong, Randy.
If I was wrong, it's like so many people telling me.
What if you'd got the ball back and there's a penalty, so they couldn't end the game on a penalty, and you'd had one shot? Who would the team look for that one shot?
I don't know. We live a lot of days of what if.
I know.
You know what I mean? So,
I know.
I mean, what if Gary Anderson would have hit that field goal in '98?
Right.
Okay.
But you gotta keep your hope that you got one more shot.
Well, our hope was December 24th, Christmas Eve against Green Bay. What if we'd have won that game? Then we wouldn't even be in this situation. We'd already have the division locked up. So, I mean, I know I was wrong. I mean, to speak truthfully with you, Coach, I know I was wrong. And the only thing I can really do is go out here and just play ball. I mean, for another man to sit here and tell me that I was wrong, I mean, I know I'm wrong, so I don't really have to hear it repeatedly. You know what I mean? So, you know, like I say time and time again, I walked off the field with 2 seconds. It's not like that I've dropped a touchdown, you know, pass. What if I'd have dropped a touchdown pass with 2 seconds left? Then it'd been, you know, even more chaos around here. So I realized that, you know, it was wrong for me to walk off the field and leave my team out there. But like I say, I mean, who says I won't do it again? You never know.
Quick question to you. Would you want him on your football team? Would you trade for him?
I would, with some hesitation, only if he would try to change his attitude. And chances of that probably pretty slim.
Well, I think Randy is an honest guy. I think he spoke his mind, and I think what you saw is exactly what Randy is. And I think it's unfortunate because it's easy to be a team guy when things are going well. It says a lot about your character, how you respond when things aren't going well. And when things go poorly, he does not respond well. And he mentioned in your interview, Jimmy, he said, I don't need someone telling me over and over and over again that I'm wrong. And 2 seconds later, he says, I might do the thing all over again if I had the chance. And
knowing that it's wrong.
Knowing that it's wrong. The reason why people tell you over and over and over again is because you don't get it. That's the problem. Folks, let me tell you something. It's a litmus test for friends. If I've got a flat tire, there's a snowstorm, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, can I call you up and know you're going to bail me out? I'm not calling Randy.
No, you'd
That's
call me,
sure.
though.
I'd call you.
I wouldn't come, but you'd
and
call
hope
me.
you're awake. Hope you're lucid.
That's funny. My question is, when will the light go on? And I don't think it ever will. He walked off that field. There's 52 teammates that are disappointed. I don't buy in to that interview. I don't buy that he was honest, and I don't buy that he really cared. He just flat doesn't care, or he would change. He says he's got people dependent on him, his family and his kids. Randy, is this the example you want to leave with them? I don't think so. Sometimes we have to grow up and be accountable for our behavior in life. And this kid walks off that field, and he doesn't regret it. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Lose today, and maybe it doesn't even matter. But his coach, Mike Tice, is going to get fired. And who's going to come in and put down a strong arm on this kid? I don't know.
Well, people are getting tired of it. They are getting tired of it. Enough is enough is enough.
And we're sitting there, we're still talking about it.
Hey, you know, let me just say this real quickly. I don't get upset at Randy Moss anymore because he is what he is. You know exactly what you have there. So just move on by it. You know, absolutely. Talk to me about the game. What do you expect?
This game today, look for Minnesota. They know they have to score early. They know they have to get up on Green Bay. They will pull out all stops right off the bat to try to get points on the board. Gimmicks, tricks, whatever. Put points on the board.
All right, folks, it's round one of the playoffs, and in just a moment, the Vikings and the Packers. Joe Buck, Chris Collinsworth, and Troy Aikman are standing by.
Football is a game where you must know your enemy. You must know its every nuance, its strengths, its weaknesses. You must identify the enemy's primary target and neutralize that threat. You must know where the enemy is at all times and when and how it will strike. If you don't, you will pay dearly. At playoff time, the stakes are raised. Eliminate your enemy, or it will eliminate you. That time is here. That time is now.
Joe, I mean, you got two explosive offenses going against two struggling defensive teams, and to think that the Packers defensively are going to redefine themselves in the 17th game of the season is not realistic. The Packers, if they're going to win, they're going to win the same way they have all season long, and that's on the right arm of Brett Favre. The Packers feel that they can exploit the secondary for the Minnesota Vikings, and Chris, you've got to believe that in this game it's going to be much like the previous two. The winner of this one's going to score a lot of points.
I hope so. Those other two were pretty good out there. But for Dante Culpepper, he has to be thinking, what in the heck do I have to do to beat the Green Bay Packers? In 2 games against the Packers this season, he's thrown 7 touchdown passes, no interceptions, over 400 yards of offense in each of those games, and yet he doesn't have a win to show for it. And if he's going to win today, he's going to have to get some help from Randy Moss, who flat out embarrassed himself last week walking off the field against the Washington Redskins. And what kind of performance is he going to put forth today? Goodness only knows.
We have not said much about defense, and here in Green Bay, when you think about defense, you think about the late and great Reggie White. This is the Packers' first home game here at Lambeau since the passing of Reggie 2 Sundays ago. They will honor him right now. Let's go to the public.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. The Green Bay Packers and the National Football League lost a dear friend with the passing of Reggie White. Now we honor his memory by observing a moment of silence.
We welcome you back to Lambeau Field. You're watching Fox Sports, broadcasting in 720p, the world's finest high-definition standard, and Dolby 5.1, presented by DirecTV. DirecTV, rethink TV. Right now, down to the field. In case you're wondering why the ball is spotted just inside the 12, it was ruled a block and a recovery. The officials are still talking about it with 7:25 remaining in this first half.
You know, Joe, those kickers are so squirrely sometimes about the shoes that they wear, and you could just see that Morton Anderson had on spikes that look like they're about 1/4 of an inch long, and those simply are not going to work out here today.
44-year-old Morton Anderson, who's been in the league for 23 years.
Number 71 is reporting as eligible. Number 71 is eligible.
Mike Sherman is getting the explanation as to why the ball is not back out at the 20. Again, a block and a recovery, so starting from just inside their own 12 are the Packers down.
Subway, eat fresh.
Brett Favre in his Hall of Fame NFL career has never brought his team back from a deficit of more than 14 points. It was 17-0 Minnesota in this game before you could blink. And with 2 minutes left in this first half, the end of Wildcard weekend.
Incident was going to rally this Minnesota team together, and that's exactly what happened. 17 points right off the bat. You know, quieten the crowd down. Now with a couple of interceptions by Green Bay and a missed field goal, hey, going to be quite a second half.
Well, that sequence of events right before the half, the Brett Favre pass, past the line of scrimmage, and then the Longwell miss, the guy who, ironically enough, has put the dagger in Minnesota's heart both times, both in Green Bay and Minnesota. It keeps that score at that distance, which is great for Minnesota. It makes Green Bay more one-dimensional in the second half, takes away that running game to a great extent, forces them to pass.
Right, to the interception by Favre, but the receivers on the route broke the routes both times. Actually, the first one was a post route or a slant route. The receiver slowed down, intercepted. Second one, the receiver broke the route. It's supposed to be a deep end, ended up going to the post when the safety came up. Favre would be credited with turnovers. You cannot have turnovers in a game like this, especially when you struggle at home, such as Green Bay has.
Speaking of receivers, Denver called the receivers of Indianapolis soft. Well, guess what?
Big mistake.
Peyton Manning had a very soft game indeed, threw for the second most yards in playoff history in a single game.
You don't want to slap my buddy Howie long because you're going to get slapped back and it's gone. It ain't so. Folks, it is. Colts look awfully impressive today.
Jets will travel to Pittsburgh. Steelers beat New York 17-6 in Week 14. Jets have never won in Pittsburgh. Colts will travel to New England next week in a rematch of last season's AFC Championship game. Howie.
Well, they have enough bodies in New England to cover the Indianapolis receivers, and if they jump out quick, that they take Corey Dillon out of the game, I think is New England's MVP this year.
And, Jeffy, you said Jets not winning in Pittsburgh is going to be a difficult week for them. A long trip all the way to the West Coast. Then they have to play 1 day short on the week. It'll be a tough time in Pittsburgh for the Jets.
A challenge indeed. We'll see how they handle it. All right, folks, coming up right after today's wild card game, the show everyone's been waiting for is finally back. 24. It all starts off tonight following the Vikings-Packers with a special two-night, 4-hour season premiere. Here's an exclusive look at what many are saying will be the best season yet of 24. While they continue to engage in the love fest, let me tell you that the second half of your game between the Vikings and Packers coming up. Packers can ill afford miscues like this. That 28-yard field goal missed with 16 seconds left in the half. Therefore, they're trailing 24-10.
Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. Get ready for the game.
The Vikings win. They go on to Philadelphia next week. Green Bay wins. They go to Atlanta. Great start for the Minnesota Vikings, up 17-0. Green Bay Packers trying to answer. One of 2 interceptions thrown.
You're watching Fox Sports. Available in 720p, the world's finest high-definition standard with Dolby 5.1.
Saw a lot packed into 30 minutes of football in the first half, and the end result is that 24-10, Minnesota on top. Total yards tilted in favor of the Minnesota Vikings, and the turnovers, that's same old story, same old thing you talk about every time you go into a playoff game or any game. You got to win that battle, and the Green Bay Packers turned it over twice on interceptions by Brett Favre.
Yeah, that's been the big difference up to this point in this ball game has been the turnovers, and I think that if you look at what Minnesota has been able to do defensively, they've done a heck of a job. Even though they've given up some yards, they really have played well considering what's happened to them in previous games. And for what it's worth, Minnesota 6-1 in games when they've led at halftime.
Well, just remember this, though. We have 2 of the best offenses in football going against 2 of the worst defenses. So a 14-point margin is simply not enough in a game like
season 5-1, then fizzled to losing 7 out of 10 down the stretch. They lead by 14, and let's go down to Pam Oliver.
Hey, Joe, Mike Sherman very clear about how the Packers need to get into this ball game. He said we can't keep going into the red zone, coming away with no points or simply field goals. He said defensively, we're letting Culpepper just stand back there in the pocket. We've got to get some pressure on him. He said finally his message to the team was this: we can do this, but it's going to take everyone.
Everyone's been waiting for 24. Now, if you haven't seen 24, now's your chance to get on board television's greatest thrill ride. The nonstop season of 24 begins with the 2-hour premiere next, except on the West Coast. All right, folks, and we welcome you back here to Studio A here in Los Angeles, California for the Subway postgame show. Let me just talk in general terms first. Coach, again, it happened the way Mike Sherman was afraid it might happen.
Yeah, and, you know, I watched Mike Tice in practice this Thursday. He was into practice.
If Minnesota were to score early, we talked about it before the game, they had an opportunity to jump out, gain some momentum, gain some enthusiasm, come together as a football team. They did that. If they had given up scores early to Green Bay, who knows what direction it could have gone. Minnesota's explosive.
Yeah, they are. And for you Green Bay Packer fans, it's the first time since '91 when Lenny Infante was your head coach that you've now had a losing record at Lambeau Field. Mike Sherman with 1 year left on his contract as head coach and general manager. Now you have to ask the question, will there be an extension? Right now, it would not look that favorable for him.
All right, visual embellishments as the Blonde Bomber packs in a little education with the highlights. Let's get started right now with the Blonde Bomber.
It's my Harvard training.
Yes,
all right,
indeed.
Let's have some fun here. Green Bay, Lambeau Field. What a great place to play a football game.
I didn't mean no harm, just having fun with the boys a little bit. So I guess I was just enthused. I scored a touchdown, man. It's just a touchdown celebration. I hope I don't get in trouble by it, but if I do, I'll take the heat.
And just finally here, your actions, do you think it brought this team together in this game? Your actions of last week?
Nah, I think you guys blew that up and left it up to my coaching staff and players to answer the questions all week. So it was a bit of a bumpy road throughout the week, you know, with me walking off the field, but we whooped that.
All right, thanks, Fred. I'm glad you hung around. All right, JB, back to you.
We blew it up, JB. Blew it up. Is this Disneyland? I mean, I don't follow this guy.
The Vikings and Randy Moss, after a controversial week where he was a lightning rod around the league, he walked off the football field. We didn't blow it up. Randy Moss drew attention to himself on national television. Now, here's the deal. He has an opportunity to go out and play well. Throws a great block on the Mo Williams run to spring Mo Williams for the first touchdown, 2 touchdown catches, and then he makes that end zone celebration that he talked about, and it just goes to show you that class and talent don't always go hand in hand.
On a positive side, I think some of the moves that Minnesota made in their defensive secondary, and especially getting Antoine Winfield back in the lineup, really caused Brett Favre to be out of rhythm, and then also getting the 4 picks. Their secondary was a big key. Obviously scoring 31 points for third time in a row against Green Bay, but their defense stepped it up today.
I would like to see the NFL office. You know, I know our viewers. Are you as tired of seeing that garbage as I am? You know, someone in New York just, you know, take some guts and make a big stand, slap a huge fine on it. Got a lot of money. Maybe something, JB, something eventually. The light bulb has to go off on this. He has to understand he is putting his team under a lot of pressure because of his childish behavior.
You know, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for my colleagues here. And you know what? And I got to be honest. I mean, as much as I try to exercise some restraint, it is absolutely unbelievable because talent only excuses so much. That was classless, ignorant, and embarrassing, and that's just calling it like it is. Well, all right, folks.
Some people are going to get it. Obviously, in that post-game interview, in the interview with Jimmy earlier in the day that we showed, he doesn't get it.
Yeah. And that's an absolute shame.
Doesn't care either.
You know, he is tremendously talented, but again, talent only excuses so much. All right, folks, we're going to step aside for a quick timeout. When we come back, we'll move ahead and talk about the way next weekend as the playoffs continue. We'll come back here and elaborate more after this. Next week, the NFL's second season continues with the divisional round of the NFC playoffs. Saturday, the Rams take on the Falcons at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Then next Sunday, the Vikings battle the Eagles at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Coverage of the NFC playoffs continues next weekend in high definition only on Fox. Of course, a reminder that coming up in less than 8 minutes, it will be 24. You won't want to miss that season premiere. 2 nights, 4 hours, folks. It is fantastic. And how you said what
character is loosely based on the life of Terry Bradshaw. Jack Bauer, super agent.
Loosely.
Loosely based.
Very loosely.
That will be strong indeed. You won't want to miss it as we welcome you back.
No.
And Terry Bradshaw obviously wearing a number of different hats. 24 coming up in less than 8 minutes as well. All right, folks, after the game today, Pam Oliver caught up with Mike Sherman. That is always a very tough interview to conduct. Mike Sherman of the Green Bay Packers with our Pam Oliver.
Okay, Mike, I know that was difficult on so many levels. What bothers you the most about the way that happened?
We're a better team than we played. How we played today, we're better than that. It's disappointing that we didn't play up to our level of expectation. Here we are at home with our fans, and to lose a game at home like this is as disappointing as it gets. I'm proud of the men in the locker room because they've battled this year. They've done some good things, but we didn't do much good of anything today.
Can you share a little bit about what you said, and perhaps, I guess, your final talk, which will be tomorrow, but what you said to them after this ball game?
Well, the fact that you can't win football games and make the mistakes that we made today. We just made too many mistakes. Minnesota's too good a team to hand them things. They earned a lot of things. They did a great job, but we certainly made our share of mistakes and didn't help ourselves.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Back to you, JB.
All right, Pam, and let me turn to our coach, and that has got to always be a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way Green Bay has played here the last, 11 weeks. 9 out of 11 they won. They're playing at home, on a roll, playing against a Minnesota team that was a little bit down as far as confidence-wise. Mike Sherman now has to go back and says, okay, how do I correct this defense? Is it coaching? Is it players? Is it scheme? What do we do to correct it? We'll find out.
All right, there was no corrections needed in the early game as far as the Indianapolis Colts were concerned. TB, take it away.
Peyton Manning and the Colts take on the Broncos. Fun day. You bet it is. Watch his yard touchdown. All Colts today. 4 passes by Peyton Manning. 452 yards passing. That is just amazing.
And you know what? As we get set talking about Manning, clearly he has had a stellar season. How much in his head what he's going to be doing next week?
Well, I think this is the game that they really had to get over. This New England game on the road, Ty Law out, the secondary's banged up. How do they defend this Indianapolis offense with the multiple receivers they have, the talent they have? If they can score early, can they take Corey Dillon, who I think has been the MVP of that New England Patriots team, out of the game?
Yeah, and Howie, I talked to Bill Belichick this week, and they were getting prepared for Indianapolis. That's who they expected, but he was really concerned because he is so thin with the defensive backs going against the hottest passer of all time.
Bad weather suits the Colts. That'll be the upset next week. Good weather.
All right, we'll see if that happens. Clearly, Peyton Manning has some incentive. He is 0-6 all-time at New England. Let's take a look at next weekend's Elite 8 in the divisional playoffs. In the AFC next weekend, the Jets took the breeze right out of San Diego's playoff sails and will face the Steelers for the first time ever in the postseason. Pittsburgh already beat New York in Week 14, and check this out. The Jets have never won a game in the Steel City. The bye has allowed the Steelers to rest their key offensive players, and the NFL's #1 defense is more than ready to bring the curtain down on a 15th straight victory. The Colts won a wildcard rematch with the Broncos, and now they'll try to snap a 5-game losing streak against New England. Hayden's a record setter, but his record against the Pats is unsettling. And check this out. Indy hasn't won at Foxborough since 1995. The Patriots went 14-2 for the second season in a row and strive to be the first repeat champs since 1997 and 98 Broncos. Can Brady's bunch do it without the law on their side? In the NFC, Saturday night's Rams-Falcons divisional playoff is a rematch of a Week 2 Atlanta beatdown. Yesterday, the Rams slew Seattle for the 3rd time this season, and in doing so became the first 8-8 team to win a playoff game. Now they must engage a well-rested flock of Falcons led by football's most lethal weapon, Michael Vick, and a ball-hawking opportunistic defense. Check this out. The Falcons are 4th in the NFC in takeaways. The Rams are 2nd in giveaways. Not a good fit if you're in St. Louis's shoes. Sunday's Vikings-Eagles divisional matchup is a rematch of a Week 2 Monday night affair won by the Eagles. Today, the 3rd time was the charm for the Vikes against the Packers. Culpepper and Moss led Minnesota's high-powered offense, but remember, defense wins championships. In Philadelphia, after T.O.'s bad break, Andy Reid shut down the Philly machine. But oh, by the way, history's on the Eagles' side. Check this out. Teams with a first-round bye are 45-11 since 1990. You know, paraphrasing Howie Long, he will say something about Terry like, my boy is not afraid to go out on a limb.
That's
but
right.
Did you step out on a real weather limb there?
I stepped out. I stepped out on a weather limb, folks. But I said the weather had to be bad for the Colts to win, and that was huge mistake on my part. This is live television. I would say good weather favors the Colts. That would be my upset.
Stuff happens.
Why didn't you bail me out?
I started to write it down.
Writing it down doesn't help me. I can't see it.
You keep telling me you're Rain Man. You just pick them and they happen.
A big mistake. We don't need any rain.
Hey, how about the Philadelphia Eagles? They've been sitting at home here for about the last month. You know, Westbrook hadn't played.
We haven't seen him in what, a month?
I know it. But you know what they've been doing? You know, Andy Reid's been putting in all those new wrinkles, and we get to see them. You know, come this weekend.
Dorsey Levin's a surprise at over 4 yards a carry. Been a real pleasant surprise for them. That will allow them to split Westbrook out, mismatch him on the outside. That kind of doesn't take care of the Owen situation, but it certainly makes him a little bit more difficult to defend.
Hey, what? Michael Vick's back on the air. I know
St. Louis indoors.
I was going to say, is St. Louis a scary team here?
St. Louis is always scary.
Michael Vick is on our guys. John Zarnicki, obviously. John. Back over here, he's hiding his head. He voted for Vic to be the MVP of the league, and I expect him to play like that next Saturday. That is,
you know, that AP voting is supposed to be quiet. No one's supposed to.
Don't you know Mike Martz is back in the chemistry lab, working, getting ready a game plan for this weekend. Hey,
I'm sorry,
John.
That's
a weekend.
Folks, you know what? I apologize. I clearly need to give them something in their drinks to settle them down. Coffee,
Jack Bauer.
But coming up next, it will be the season premiere of 24. You won't want to miss it. You'll miss this noise, but not 24.